basically just there kind of like a gun. You rarely use it. It's just there if you need it. But for me, sometimes, well, the gun goes off. Yeah, premature penetration from the Kev bullet. You'll get it sometimes. You got to hit me the right way. But I'll tell you, lately what's been going on mostly has been my fault because I've been moody. And when I get moody, which is usually a direct result of physical pain, I snap at people, and that sets a tone. But it also involves the behavior of others and how they feel that tone and how they hear it and the way they attack. One thing you want to watch out for, especially if you're a noob on Spreaker or if you're doing TalkShoe or whatever, watch out for people that are going to yell. Because the angriest people I've found on Spreaker there's a few things that tend to run in common among them. One is they tend to be right or extreme right politically. I have yet to hear, maybe somebody can point me to a show, where you have a center-left or leftist host who finds himself yelling during a broadcast, okay? People that are yelling are either that mad, which comes from a place of pain, and usually there's a root of jealousy in there somewhere. If it's not jealousy, it's, all right, so you're at the stoplight. I like to do these. They're impromptu. And you look down at your radio, the right station's on, but you're not hearing anything. And then, oh, shit, the volume wasn't up. So I turn the volume up. Next thing you know, I think I'm rolling forward. But I wasn't rolling forward. My foot was on the brake. The car next to me was rolling backward. All right? Some people get stuck and feel, or possibly actually can't, they feel that they can't go any higher, any further. They cannot progress. They've shown all of the tricks in their bag, and they're kind of stuck. And that may be mostly self-imposed. It may not be an accurate representation of their actual talent or ability. But for whatever reason, they call it the Peter Principle in at least semi-modern day workforce lingo, where someone gets to where they think that's about as high as I can go, and they stop. Well, let me ask you this. If you were that person, I'm asking you to use some understanding tonight. If you were that, hi, Leanne, welcome to the chat room. Leanne, you're a good example. By the way, this is not going to be a fireworks show. I'm not attacking anyone. Leanne's a perfect example. I'd like to hear your honest opinion, Leanne. Now, some certain person offended you or a family member of yours not too long ago, right? It was really offensive. You got offended by it. You were bothered by it. And I told you that I was doing business with this person. And I told you that because I didn't want you to think I was on the sneak with it. Because I'll do business with anybody as long as, if I have them blocked on Spreaker, I won't do business with them. Because there's a reason I've blocked them. And you accepted that well, because you knew that in my heart, I knew you had been offended by something that allegedly this person had done. And I got that. But I also tried to explain to you the importance of me getting business, especially at a weird spot I'm in my life right now, which is a transitional stage here at Studio 4, where money does not seem to grow on the trees. Yeah, I've looked, climbed up some of them. I think you accepted that. I'm not sure. You don't like this person. You hate this person for what he did. But I couldn't take your judgment and apply it to a business transaction. Now, I'm not telling you that we're buddy-buddy, this guy and I, but I do treat my customers well. Paying customers, it's just a habit. I mean, it's something that in 25 years in the workforce, I was trained to do, and I did. And I was working up until 2010, where I got into 2 accidents at the wheel, sleep at the wheel, because my pain began to dictate my sleep schedule. There was no way around it. It's this simple. I can really break it down simply for you. When the exhaustion overcame the pain, then I could sleep. And so the second accident that I was in when I was asleep at the wheel was a 4-car pileup, including mine. The 2 cars in front of me had shattered windshields and stuff. If you're a friend on Facebook, and I think you are, Leanne, you can actually look at the photos of that accident. And then in the front car, there was a lady. We barely touched her car, but she stopped anyway, to do the report and all. There was a lady, and she had a small boy in her car. And I walked up to her, and God strike me dead if I'm lying. I don't lie on this fucking show. Just, y'all know that. Unless I'm doing comedy, you're getting truth. I said to her, ma'am, if my mistake today had hurt that little boy, you wouldn't have to kill me. You wouldn't have to kill me. And I meant it. And I never forgave myself for that. And it was then that I knew that I had two options. I either got my pain under control or I stopped working the regular 40-hour work week. So I chose the latter. I stopped. I had to do something immediately, so I stopped. You can't just walk in and get a surgery. And I went to writing books, repairing computers, and making paracord items, which are awesome. If you've never heard of paracord, check it out. Quick backstory on it. World War II, maybe slightly before that, airborne troops used to cut off their parachute cord when they would land on the ground because it's so strong and lightweight. And today's paracord, which I believe was the norm strength back then, is 550-pound test, one single strand, which has inside of it 7 double twist of nylon and then the outer sheath. And I make bracelets with it, and I make keychains, and I make this stuff. And I'm working on two bracelets right now. Today I was working on 3 different computers. I was actually physically working on 2 while talking a customer through one. So I'm always doing something. I'm always doing something. And what my goal is to get my surgery, which will probably happen in October or November. Depends on how fast all the MRI work comes through. Because my lower spine is destroyed. And my legs go numb. And when they're not numb, my right knee is screaming. Like one of those old school cartoon choo-choo trains. The high-pitched steam sound. And these are the pains that I have to deal with. And then I lay down in a bed and I try to sleep. And my brain says, Kev, I know you want to sleep, but I got to process some pain signals here. And it does that. And it does that. And it does that. And I will lay in bed for 5 hours, 6 hours sometimes before I just give up. Or maybe by then I finally crash and get a few hours. And that's been my life for the past 5 years. Now, the attacks that have been leveraged against me, I'm not going to address them directly. Some of them are accurate. Some of them aren't accurate. One example is we had an issue where people were attacking me for charging for doing graphics work. Now, in my graphics package that I sell people, I give you one big square high-res photo, I give you one Twitter or Facebook banner, and then I give you a special website banner. And each of these are different, and each of these get reworked and reworked until you're perfectly happy with them. So I thought, maybe $30 is too much. I went and checked. I'm about a 7 on a 10 scale with Photoshop. I go up to about an 8 if I mix it with Cinema 4D and get some true 3D effects in there. I looked at what your average designers are charging, and here's what I searched for: average charge for a high quality graphics work. The lowest I found in this list is $73 an hour, and I put an average of 6 hours into the 3 images I create for people because I rework them and I rework them and I rework them, and I get asked, is this going to look right? What about the colors? Is it going to fit a table? Is the image going to represent who I am, what my business is? I go through all of that with them. The 6 hours is just the labor of the image editing. We're not even getting it. So $30 for, after the talking and emailing back and forth, we're talking about maybe 10 hours of work. I'm asking for $3 fucking an hour. So I'm going to let you rest with that. I'm looking at some other prices here. Good Lord. $30 for 2 or 3 minutes here. I'm not passing any. I'm reading any that I see. This one's $250 an hour, which they say is a pretty high rate. I think the average that I've been seeing is about $150 an hour for high-quality graphics work. Yeah, I charge $30, and I give you 10 hours of my time. Think about that for a minute. Anyway, we're done with that. And I just wanted to, I feel like I'm legit in that charge, and that's the way it's going to be. So if people don't like that, they're going to have to go find work elsewhere. Good for them. Go to Fiverr. Get you a cheap one. Man, you get it for $5. And when you get it and you go, well, that's not really working for me. I wanted it, Now go talk to that person that just did that job for $5, and you see if they'll rework it to match your vision. Yeah, you check on that. Anyway, that's what I'm charging. I'm not changing the price. I may actually up the price if people start asking for more Cinema 4D work, because that takes a long time to use that software. It's thick on RAM and CPU usage, and it slows down everything. So that may be what I do. But this is a reset show, and this is where I say, let me give you guys an example. Anybody that's a fight fan, boxing. I don't watch the MMA or the wrestling or any of that other stuff. I just like old school boxing. In fact, most of the fights I like to watch are the older fights. The newer fights are, I don't know. I don't know the guys, I guess. Maybe that's it. There are two fighters. One is named, I think, Ricardo Mayorga. I think that's his first name. I can't remember. But his last name is definitely Mayorga. And then the second guy's name is Cotto, and he's a Puerto Rican. And Mayorga, I think, is I think he's Colombian. But anyway, Mayorga, what he does before every fight is he starts talking, and he calls the guy, his opponent's wife, a whore, and he really does all this stuff, and he's a hard puncher, a pretty hard puncher. So he goes in there and he's swinging and he's punching, and usually he loses because he doesn't take his conditioning seriously. Okay, this is Mayorga. Now, Cotto, different story, does all of he's a professional. I mean, that's the difference between the two of them. He's a professional and Mayorga's not. So Cotto has consistency. He has somewhat of a predictability about his style, which always works. And in general, he's pretty much guaranteed to destroy you. But he'll do it slowly. He's going to just keep working. He's got his plan, and nothing gets him off of it. And if you ever watch the Mayorga Cotto fight, you'll see the difference between me and an average aggressive host that comes after me. The average aggressive host on Spreaker or any other network is going to be the Mayorga. That's how they fight. They swing hard. Sometimes they win some fights. I'm the Cotto. I'm sticking to my plan. I'm doing my thing, and I'm not deviating. Now, I've heard on this network before people threatened, I better never see you on this network again. God help the person who thinks they're going to tell me to get off this network. I mean, oh, hell no. All I'm going to do then is up the frequency of my shows. I don't even want to do that. Right now I'm doing like one a month, and that's good. But if somebody ever tells me I better not show up on Spreaker again, I'll start doing shows every damn day. It's just like, what? 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 Did you just become the boss of something that I didn't know about? I don't know. Because I'm looking at the policy here, and says I'm allowed to do a show whenever I want to. So maybe I missed a memo you could send to me. You're the boss of something or something like that. In other words, the background thought there is, fuck you. And I mean it sincerely. I would much prefer to deal with some of the more harsh hosts that interact with me in person. It's just because you got body language you can look at then. It eliminates all that false hiding behind a mask, and you may even be pretending to be an animal. And wouldn't that be great? Imagine you were a sidekick on a radio show and you were pretending to be a bear, for example. You're a big grizzly bear. You've got no identity. You can attack anybody at any time for anything without accountability. What an ideal thing. Imagine that same person then comes out, gives his real name, does his own show, and it's original. Can you imagine? I have a hard time imagining that as a possibility. But what it really comes down to is this isn't going to sway me at all. I've had some tangles with people lately. Some have been my fault, some haven't. I just keep doing my thing, and it's not going to stop. It's going to keep coming. You can call it a bad foot fungus. You can call it a growing following. You can call it whatever you want. But I'm going to keep doing my shows, and nobody's going to stop me. And I'm not going to deviate in any major way from the theme that I normally go by. But I started thinking about why people attack. Now, if you haven't heard it yet, and I'm going to find it right now, I had a troll show. It was about trolls. And I did this show with a clinical psychiatrist who's also an expert, or at least specialist, in troll behavior. So I'm going to find that link for you for that show. And the reason that that link is going to be